I'm Zach Choate. This is my Army story.
What's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning into this episode, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. Please, I'm asking you guys to share this content, like it, and if you're enjoying these episodes, please comment. That will help out the channel a lot. Share it with your friends, and let's get into the episode. Zach Choate, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks a lot, man.
Hey, this has been a long time coming, dude. I think past
It has.
August.
Yes.
You
But we
know,
made it happen, so thanks.
yeah, dude. Life doesn't stop for any of us.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Adulting.
Yeah, it does. It sucks, man. Sometimes.
Yeah.
So you, I forgot how I linked up with you, but I know you knew Dustin Peters, and
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about this Task Force Mountain thing you got going on.
Well, Task Force Mountain is like I guess, a little brainchild I've had brewing for years, post service. Just kind of wanted to continue that brotherhood for one, and also just giving back in some kind of capacity, service related. And it took a better part of a decade or more to get to the point of its inception. But I
Yeah.
guess it was during right after Hurricane Helene, like the day after it had moved inward to Georgia and the Carolinas. Um, it kind of leaped into action. I put a call out on social media saying that I was going to respond to a few family needs that were in the area, and
Hmm.
it kind of tailspinned into a thing that hadn't talked to some of these guys in 17 years, and they responded in a way that you would expect a brother to. But it just blew my mind, that these skill sets were all readily available, and we made something happen. And while we continued to respond to the needs in Western North Carolina, we just decided to make it official. And we're a nonprofit that focuses on veteran empowerment, getting us out of that victim mentality and getting us back into service, like I said, around brothers, like minded, um, in the community at large. More specifically, like I said, we started with storm recovery, search and rescue, supply runs, multiple supply runs. We, you know, did logistical operations with several different organizations, all veteran led, in the area, from the U.S. Veteran Corps, and gosh, there was just a number of them. But, like veterans and military personnel, we just got things done, and there wasn't so much bureaucracy to be dealt with in the process. So it made it easy and impactful, I guess you could say. So
Yeah.
So since then, we've just been kind of putting ourselves out there on social media, seeing if we can gain interest. Veterans like a sexy mission, and unfortunately, those are few and far between. And like, yourself and me, we've got other lives, 9 to 5s, and then of course our special interests. So
Yeah,
we'll
for
get
sure.
there though.
Um, so how do you when you said like you kind of like build the brotherhood that they miss? How do you do that? Like you just because of people that they know or what?
Well, I mean, that's how it started initially. When I say that the people that I knew kind of responded, there was only like 3 or 4 that I actually served with. The others were just people that knew other people through the people that I served with.
Okay.
And while we were there, met veterans from all across the country that were just, a lot of them just solo vets, just wanting to get involved and help, at whatever capacity they had.
Right.
And there were just opportunities throughout that to kind of pick their brains. And obviously the brotherhood was there, like it, never left, with a
Mm,
lot of strangers, to be honest. And it was comforting, and there was something to take away from that. And too often veterans are in isolation, um,
Yeah.
and, and pity parties, and that's I'm speaking from experience. It took me quite a while to find myself transitioned out of
Yeah.
that combat service mentality into this,
Yeah.
whatever this is.
How old are you?
I am 40. I just turned 42.
Okay. And you left service what, probably about what, 15 years ago?
This was 2008. Yeah. So,
Okay. Yeah, I bring that up because you're absolutely right. I've had this conversation with multiple people. Um, I feel like when veterans get out of the military, they have a very like nobody gets me, so they don't put themselves out there. And
right.
then you also have veterans that are like, I don't like people. I don't want to be around people, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I'm like, when we call you, we're on the phone for 3 hours. I'm like, you just don't want to be around those people. You want to be around your people.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And I think that's important what you're doing, man. Like that's what the whole direction of the new podcast is going to. Like it's not so I can like I said in the video, it's kind of the recorded stuff is still gonna be strictly GWOT Goon related, but all the lives that I'm gonna do, like I'll have you on for another live. If you guys have something going on, I'll put you guys out. Just
Right on.
it's important to I mean, humans are tribal people, right? We want to be with tribes.
Right.
Like, we want to be with
Right.
people, and what you're doing is good, man. And I mean, we got you got to keep going, dude. Like it's just we got to do something,
You as well,
right?
and you as well. It's yeah, it's important that we share our stories as well. We've all our experience can help somebody else, and that's one of the points that I wanted to get to is, throughout that I've met other veterans that had gone or were currently going through the things that I had done during my
Yeah,
transition out of service, whether it be, thinking if I go here and or live here and do this or do that, that things will work for me, um, just kind of wandering, and not have that peace with yourself. And
yeah,
like I said, it takes a lot of work,
yeah. We're
but
we're kind of stubborn,
it's
man. You
worth
know.
it. We are, we are. Yeah, I still don't want to put in the work a lot, but it's worth it.
Yeah, part of it too is like I think you see it probably on TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that. People are like, nobody will get me. I'm like, that's not true, man. I've met a lot of good
Right,
civilian people too, right? Like never served, and then they like you kind of just have to put that aside, right? Because you're not that you're a veteran, but you're not that guy that you were anymore.
right,
You kind of need to move on while keeping it a point of view.
right. Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I reached a point where I didn't want it to define my whole personality. That was such a short stint, a very impactful stint.
Yeah,
But we have work to do. We can't just rely on that. And I look at a lot of, and this is not a dig, but a lot of Vietnam vets
yeah.
who
No, I know where you're
are
getting at.
still stuck in it. And I'm very fortunate, I guess, in a little way, because I'm married to a Vietnamese woman. I've spent some time living in Vietnam, quite a
Oh,
few years, and if I see them talking about, just really hurting from their service, and I get it, I totally get it. But if they were to take a trip abroad and just see that, these people they're fine, they moved on, they prospered.
yeah.
Maybe that says something about what they were fighting for and what we were. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
So, I know we talked about like you were in Vietnam at one point. I think it was last year, probably around October maybe.
right, yeah.
Or one of those days, but um can you tell over there like the people like you said they're fine, but can you tell like in your opinion, right? Obviously you weren't there during the Vietnam War, but like does any of them actually like talk about it or do they seem okay? Like, like they happy, sad about it or what?
They, you know, um, I got two takes on that. At first glance, they're perfectly fine. They almost treat you when they find out you're an American. They almost treat you almost like royalty, a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, to the point where it's kind of uncomfortable, but whatever, you just go with it. And then on the other hand, I talk to some people and they're like, do you think that they, have forgotten what's going on? They're just, seeking to have an advantageous relationship with us, and like other countries, to their own means. But yeah, I felt like it was a very positive atmosphere there. Like I said,
Uh-huh.
Vietnam is very industrious. They're growing rapidly. Their economy, it's like I think one of the top 10 tourist, not tourist, but expat, like retiree destinations.
Mhm.
So I loved it there. I really did. It was
Yeah.
a good place to kind of get away from all the noise, because it was getting kind of chaotic at that point when I had gone over there 2016 for the first time. And so I just needed that place away to kind of digest everything and
Right.
refocus. And yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it 100%. I think when we're older, right? So probably about 20 years from now, when they look back on, I know Iraq is pretty what's the word I'm looking here for, prosperous, I guess, but I can't say the same thing about Afghanistan. When we left, it was like, I'm not talking about the withdrawal specifically. I'm talking about like now, like years later. I don't
Right.
feel like they changed their culture too much. Like we we gave them some freedom, but like it was like, okay, now they just kind of let it go.
Yeah, it's kind of disheartening. I was kind of, I felt secondhand embarrassment for a lot of those guys, just in the anger, obviously, that came with that. Um, just because based off of that whole withdrawal and everything that's going on since, and that was kind of like what a little bit of some of us Iraq vets had to go through. I guess it was probably in the 2010, 2012 time frame when areas that we had, fought and established and had relative peace in those areas were now, like those same guys that we were handing out soccer balls and backpacks and
Yeah,
stuff to were now taking up arms in ISIS,
yeah,
and that was a big deal. And it was kind of like, well, but I guess that's, the nature of war.
yeah.
I mean, even with Vietnam, so like with the Vietnam thing too, I was in the North Vietnam. So the I guess from the Americans' perspective, the enemy, area.
Right.
And yeah, I would talk to veterans occasionally that had little tea shops, older veterans that we would talk back and forth through Google Translate to,
Hmm.
fault. But just to go back to that.
Yeah. No, for sure. My buddy, I actually, I did a pod. He was in Iraq when we did a podcast together, and I thought that was pretty interesting. I'm like, man, we're still going over there, and a lot of people
Right.
thought,
Yeah.
a lot of people thought we went. The GWOT started in Iraq. A lot of people thought that, and I thought that was kind of interesting what we're doing. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to get into the whole like politic and geopolitical crap. I don't obviously understand any of that. I just thought it was kind of
Yeah.
interesting that we're still over there
Main
peacekeeping,
thing.
whatever we're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. I don't know. We're definitely doing a lot of something everywhere, all over the place.
Yeah, that's for sure, man.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Um, but yeah, dude, I'm excited to get into your story and
Yeah.
I know that you're a Calf Scout and I don't know if you knew this that the army was getting rid of the MOS.
Yeah. I'd heard that during our deactivation ceremony for my old unit. It was kind of disheartening. They were kind of filtering them out into other, like a specialty thing, from what I gather, and just reclassing them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of weird that they would get rid of that job, right? I think I mean, through the beginning of time since the army's inception, like I mean, what is the thing you always hear? Here comes the cavalry.
Right. Right.
And
Well,
all of
yeah.
a sudden, I mean, we're doing recon. We do recon all the time. Maybe it's cuz drones are taking over. I don't really know.
I mean, the whole nature of warfare, I think, has changed dramatically. But yeah, you would think in some way that reconnaissance would, on the human level, would transition with it. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
but you even think about in Afghanistan with the initial GWOT. This these weren't recon, so I mean, scouts, by the way, but I mean, they were special forces soldiers on horseback,
Yeah.
going into the mountains of Afghanistan. And that's just, you would think there'd be some kind of way, but I noticed that, I guess, looking back, that they were kind of downsizing scouts, even, I guess, during my time, because we had gone from, I guess, cavalry squadrons to Rista squadrons, where we were kind of sprinkled in with the infantry, other
Mm,
infantry platoons, and they were more infantry focused, or at least that's the way it was at 10th Mountain
yeah.
for us.
Yeah. No, I
So,
can kind of, I definitely see where you come from. It seems like it definitely seems like the GWOT kind of like transitioned the war from scouting and recon, and then special forces doing their own recon. It's just weird. Like,
yeah, totally. But the drone thing, I think that's you're probably right on with that. That sounds
yeah,
like that's what we're keying in on.
yeah, and I mean, also, I mean, the drone warfare is wild too, man. I don't know if you've seen some of
That's
those videos in
scary, dude.
Ukraine, dude. It's so
Dude, I had to
crazy.
stop. I had to get off a Telegram. That stuff was wild.
Yeah, dude, I'm over here like, man, like I don't. Did you hear about that El Paso thing that happened recently?
I just know what the airspace being closed
Yeah, the
down.
airspace. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
one of the reports was like a Mexican cartel drone.
yeah,
A-
that's what I heard as well. Yeah,
And I'm like, dang, man, like, dude, they could
that's
just do whatever they want with those drones, dude.
man. Yeah, yeah, they can. That's really scary. I
Yeah.
remember the drone we had, back in the OIF 0608 was the little Raven drone, which was basically, a high tech, foam glider from
Yeah.
like, grade school that you just threw, and that's how it launched. So
Yeah. When I was in Alaska, I was stationed in Alaska, just to be on the topic of drones. We
right.
I was with the Apache unit and we had a unit attached to us. It was a Gray Eagle unit. And
Hmm.
dude, that Gray Eagle drone can fly probably from Alaska to Russia.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the wildest thing in the world. I'm like, damn, this is how we're doing things now. It's crazy. You're just taking
Yeah.
the fighter out of the fight.
Yeah. I mean, and that's those soldiers that were drone pilots during the Iraq and Afghanistan war. They got their own set of problems. I know a couple that, they were so, you talk about isolation. They were so isolated from the war, so it was almost like it was just like a video game for some of these drone pilots, where they were in a trailer sitting, operating
Mhm.
something from miles and miles away, and so it was like a impersonal kind of battle.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for sure. So so why did you pick Cav Scout over any job or
oh man, so I was kind of a late bloomer, I guess, in the military. I went in at like 20 years old after I'd done some
oh,
college.
that's not terrible.
And well, I spent my 21st birthday in basic training. So
Yeah.
and in my unit, I was an old guy.
Yeah.
Um, but my family didn't want me to go into anything. Didn't want me to do the Marines, and they
Mhm.
would like me to carry on the somewhat family tradition we had of even though my grandfather was a Marine during World War II and all, they wanted me to go in the Air Force. They thought that was a more be better off for me when I got out in the military, and so I wanted to do something a little bit more, you know, risky if I was going to do it. So I thought,
Yeah.
and the sales pitch for the Scout at that point in time was, I do recall them having like not the side by side, but dune buggies and dirt bikes and
Yeah. That's dope as
Bradley
shit.
tanks. Yeah, Bradley fighting vehicles and just doing all the stuff. And that seemed cool to me. So I was like, let's do it. And
Yeah.
off to
So
Kentucky I went.
so your grandfather was in the Marines. What about your father? Did he serve too?
My father was in the army. He was in the reserves. He didn't go to Vietnam. And that was something that kind of, I guess, ate at him a lot. That he
Yeah.
avoided that. He didn't
Uh-huh.
avoid it by choice. It was just he just didn't go. Um,
Right.
so, but yeah.
Um, how was your so like I mean, since your dad was in the reserves, how was it growing up? Were you like an athletic kid? Were you a bad kid? Like,
No, nah, I was a kid. I don't know. I grew up in the '80s and '90s, so I mean, I was a product of you know the kind of environment that parents were trying to imitate. I guess that this all the
yeah,
sitcoms that we were watching at that point in time. I was a product of an alcoholic father though too, so
yeah,
that had its own things. But I wasn't like if you're getting at like a strict like militaristic kind of
yeah,
um, childhood. No, it wasn't anything like that. I was an athletic kid, but I wasn't like you got to do all the athletic stuff.
yeah. Yeah, no,
It was a
I'm leaning towards like cuz I've noticed a pattern on my podcast, people that usually have like a rough upbringing, they kind of pick like a combat job. I guess it kind of helps them
right.
like with structure or kind of gives them a sense of purpose.
Yeah, yeah, and that's I guess subconsciously, and that was I guess an explanation I did give my mother later on down the road was because of that split relationship with the mother and father at during my teens. It was I felt like I lacked that structure and that discipline. I'd floated
Yeah.
around from meaningless jobs as a teenager, and
Yeah.
didn't really cut it in college. I was just like, it wasn't for me. I was too kind of antsy and just wanted to do stuff,
Right.
and so yeah, it was and it was a total wild card decision on my part too, and I guess for the rest of my family that I did it. But yeah, I did lack or didn't lack. I guess I lacked and I longed for that structure and that kind of that I knew that if I enlisted, I couldn't quit. I couldn't just say, okay, well, that was cool, but let's not do that anymore. I couldn't
Yeah.
turn in a 2 week notice. So it was a commitment. And, with that commitment, and I learned the things that I was good at, I excelled
Yeah.
and went from there.
It's good though that I think it's good that you recognize that you needed that structure, right? Go Going through having split parent household is hard for any kid, and as a
Yeah.
teenager, I can imagine. My parents split when I was like 2 years old, maybe 1 years old, and
Yeah.
I understand, but as a teenager, it's definitely rough, especially as a young man, right? Like a lot of outside influences, right? And then
Hmm.
you kind of need that path on what to give you or where you need to go, right? You may mess up along the way, but you still need some type of path.
Right, right. And yeah, I had a lot of outside influences and a lot of good, uncles and relatives that kind of would fill in that role. And of course, my father wasn't gone. He was just absent in some parts. He's deceased now. But he just we just didn't have that sitcom type relationship that the
Yeah,
father and son would typically have.
yeah. No, and it definitely affects you, right? Because like I'll share from my experience. I didn't have my mother growing up, and it's something I struggle with the rest of my life. I feel like
Yeah.
my aunt uses this line. She's like, "Not even a dog leaves their children," right? And I definitely felt that the older I get. And then when you deal with trauma, like experiences overseas, or you go through something hard, that trauma always comes up too. And
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
yeah, it's hard. Like that's why I kind of understand where you're coming from about how split home. It's definitely kind of rough.
Yeah. The ironic part of that I didn't have that relationship with the father was whether it be for an advantage in the relationship, like to favor one parent over the other or not. He was always like the biggest supporter of me. But when
Yeah,
it came to action, my mother, God, God bless her. I mean, she was jumped
right.
into action,
That's
all the
good, man.
time, no matter what. So I'm
Yeah,
blessed in that respect. But
yeah. Shout
yeah,
out Zach's mom, dude.
Yeah, shout out, mom.
um, okay, so you're kind of athletic kid, but you're not like a freakish athlete. And then
No.
you graduate high school, you're bouncing around like some jobs, and you decided
Hmm.
to give the old college try.
Yeah, the college try. I did that for, yeah, I went to a nice little, and it was about 30, 40 minutes away from home, private university, shorter college, well, it's shorter university now. And, it had this nice reputation of good Christian kids going, and, it
Yeah.
wasn't a party school. So,
What did you
uh,
study?
I went in there for psychology and a minor in religion,
Okay.
and quickly, within the first year, it kind of dropped that psychology mindset and
Yeah.
was kind of confused about the religion part. So yeah, I was kind of undecided, and then really, every school is a party school if you get down to it. When you got kids that have the ability to live on campus for the first
Yeah.
time away from their parents. So I mean, even that little place in Rome, Georgia, I found a way to party and slack. So yeah, that wasn't for me at that time. I regret that a lot. But yeah,
Yeah. Um, so when did you I mean, college is not for everybody, man. It took me
no,
it took me when I was 30 to get my bachelor's degree, but well, when were you in college? You're like, damn, I need to do something else. Like this is not working out.
man. Well, I've had to do that on two separate occasions because I even did that after the service too. Tried to do the whole college thing like Adam Sandler and
Yeah.
Billy Madison.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, it was, and then you got to. I could always justify my reasons for whatever decision I made
right.
in life, so I was good at that. So I guess I, 2 years after doing the college thing, I realized I was failing out, and so I was just like, it's not for me. I need to work. I need to learn how to provide for myself and things. So
Yeah.
I took it like kind of like a little gap year and thought that that's the route that I should take. Just stacking money and living on my own. And like again, quickly I realized that left unattended and with no like structure and just on my own, I could just waste away, or I could do something.
Yeah.
I could go either way.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to ask this question about, people that can remember. You were probably like what, maybe 17, 18 when 9/11 happened?
Oh yeah, I was no, I was. I remember I was in 10th grade, tenth
Okay,
or
so
11th grade. Yeah,
what, 16?
so they rolled the TVs in.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
16. I was driving. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
what
16,
what
17. Yeah,
happened? Yeah, what happened? Do you remember, like, did the school go on lockdown or, like, what
man,
was your
no.
reaction?
Ah, man, I had a girlfriend at that point in time, and I was like, and really into soccer, and I think it was soccer. Oh man, we might have been doing some training during that time. So I was all consumed with that. But I just remember being in a morning class and then them rolling the TV in and just kind of the shock and the awe, ironically,
Right.
of the whole situation and like, you know, immediately how quickly it spun into, okay, we're gonna do this, and there's an enemy to point the finger at, and there's a mission to be done, and it looks like everybody's on board with this. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, uh
but I didn't feel compelled to like right after high school,
yeah.
snap into that mission because I you know after graduation in 2002, like that, quickly 2003 the mission had started, and then a few months later the mission was accomplished. So
Yeah.
um yeah,
Yeah. I think 10th Mountain was one of the first groups inside Afghanistan in, like, '02, I think. I'm
they
not too
were.
sure, but,
They supported, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, I know your family wanted you to go in the Air Force. You had a grandfather was in the Marines, but you picked the Army.
Right,
A
right.
and, was it because of the war, or you were like, "Hey, I just need something hard," or what?
It was just the structure, and again, I didn't want to do something that was going to result in a job that was behind a desk or anything that was really, I didn't care that at that point in time about
Yeah,
what was going to be after that. I just
right.
needed the immediate structure, and so like
Think it's
the
short term.
most
Think it's
challenge.
short term.
Yeah, and the way they sold the scout was, you'd be trained on more weapon systems than the infantry. You'd be trained, you'd be entrusted more on a smaller squad scale to go out and um, do these cool little missions and stuff. And we did get to take advantage of some of those cool little things as scouts, in Arista Squadron with the
Yeah.
10th Mountain. But
How did your mom
it,
take it when you told her, "Hey, I'm gonna be in the army"?
like I said, it was a wild card for everybody because I didn't tell anyone at all. Yeah, I was just I'd gone secretly after work a couple days to talk to a recruiter just on a whim. Actually, there was a girl I was dating at the tanning salon right next to the recruiter's office. So they were always like recruiters or kind of creeping on the girls going in and out of the
Yeah.
tanning salon, and we started talking. I think I found myself over there a couple afternoons just speaking with them specifically, and yeah. So when I didn't want to tell anybody anything yet because I was smoking a lot of pot at that time, and I was like,
Yeah.
I got to pass this piss test first, and so I actually left for basic training, with that one of those little drinks and like just chugging like gallons of water just in case they piss tested me when I got to Fort Knox again by chance. So, but yeah,
No.
she was kind of like, there's other ways to accomplish, this. You don't have to go into the military. You can just, you can go to church. You can do this. There's other ways. You don't have to do this.
Yeah.
But I was determined too that I knew that we were still in Iraq and Afghanistan, and that was going to continue. So I definitely wanted to take advantage of a deployment. If I was going to be in that situation, training for that situation, might as well be in that situation.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so what year is this that you leave to basic training?
This was January of '05.
January of 5? Okay.
Hmm.
So yeah, we're already into the war. So
Yeah, we're into the war.
they definitely needed
Yeah.
you as a Cap Scout.
Yeah. And we were, I mean, the powers that be probably knew this at that point in time, but I mean, we were shortly after that, ramping up for the surge. So
Yeah.
it
How
was
was,
taking a whole new direction.
so where are you from originally when you left?
North Georgia.
Or Georgia? So, I mean,
Yeah.
Georgia and Fort Knox, Kentucky, we're not talking about too much of a weather difference. It's very humid both.
No. Yeah, very humid and the occasional snow. Maybe a little bit more snow tendencies there in Fort Knox, but yeah, not much of a difference.
It's still
So
that
I
weird
wasn't.
cold weather too. I don't really I can't
Yeah,
describe it.
but I know what you mean. Yeah.
So how was basic training, man? Like, were they, I know you said you were a pretty athletic kid. I mean, but 20 years old, you got a little bit more test going through your body. So, how was
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Like I said, that was my chance to excel, and I didn't want to be that guy in the platoon. I wanted to be, if anything, that guy that was, left alone, kept under the radar, but accomplished everything, all of my tasks given, to the best of my ability. But with that little bit of college too, I quickly was pegged as, oh, a schoolboy, so he wants to be a leader or something like that. So I was, a squad leader. And one of the drill sergeants we had was a Georgia boy as well, which ironically, there were many Georgia guys in our platoon. So he
Yeah.
took to me, and that I was kind of fortunate in that regard. We don't get me wrong, we had a tough, basic training. You could still haze and all that stuff. There was some controversy around it, but there was definitely that going on. Um, but yeah, it was, I excelled there. I thought I did. I pushed myself. I don't have a chip on my shoulder or anything about it, but I did the thing and I did it good. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You didn't find it physically challenging, mentally challenging, or anything like that?
not not really. Once I got it in my mind that you can't quit this one, Zach. You gotta. Because I saw other people, that would go AWOL around that time too.
Yeah.
They would tell you how to go AWOL. Take the railroad tracks and just keep walking.
Oh fuck.
And a couple of folks did it, and I just, yeah, I guess it was challenging, just working with a team and guys
Yeah.
you don't know,
Personality
but
conflicts.
yeah, but quickly those are diminished for a period, enough to realize that if you work together, you can get this mission accomplished that less than 1% of the U.S. population will even do.
Yeah, for sure. So what are they telling y'all in basic training? Like, hey, y'all are gonna go straight to Iraq, or
Well, yeah, for us, they were telling the guys because they were with a scout and completing the OSIT training there. You were trained to go both heavy or light. So
yeah,
heavy with the Bradley and light with the infantry, and so they were pretty much saying both at that point in time we're gonna had the possibility of going overseas. And they named some key bases. The 82nd, 101st, 10th Mountain. You know. Fort Hood, all these places that had been and repeatedly were going, and
yeah,
and so yeah, and I remember a few times them showing videos of 9/11 again, and kind of invoking that spirit, and that showing some videos of IEDs. Well, even though that wasn't a huge thing at that point in time, but it was getting bigger.
yeah. It
Um,
was.
but yeah, there was just a lot of just getting you pumped up for that mission, which it seemed like that mission was Iraq at that point in time. Afghanistan was just lingering at that point in time, at least
Yeah.
in our focus at that particular time.
Nah. Yeah, I understand. So you continue the Cal Scout school at Knox, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That was a 16-week thing.
Oh
Yeah.
shit. Wait, the scout
Yeah.
thing was 16 weeks, or was it in total?
Yeah. Well, the basic and then the
Oh,
OSIT,
okay.
like the AIT, I guess, or
Yeah.
yeah.
How was the Cal Scout school?
It was cool. I mean, we trained for all the things in the videos that I saw, minus the dirt bikes and the dune buggies.
Yeah.
The Bradley training was cool, for a country guy. It was like the ultimate mudding experience.
Uh-huh.
Um, and the field exercises were cool. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
was definitely getting the whole experience of
Yeah.
testing my manhood to see if I could hack it,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I was challenged, and the challenge was accepted and carried on good.
How did you feel when you got your orders to 10th Mountain?
Man, I a lot of ways because right up until graduation, I was under the impression that I was going to Quarter Cav in Schweinfurt, Germany.
Hmm.
Um, and then literally, I think it was like right before the formation for the graduation, they brought out orders to 4 or 5 of us that were going there, and they had switched us to several different locations, and 2 of us had gotten switched to Fort Drum and New York. I'm thinking New York City. It's kind of cool. Um,
Yeah.
it's so far away from New York City, like 10 minutes away 15 minutes away from Canada. It was, you talk
Yeah.
about the difference in environment and the climate, man, that was a culture shock.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like a whole it's basically Canada.
Yeah, it is, man. It was cold. It was cold.
Yeah, even okay, so you probably got there around like what, April, May, and it's still cold, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I got there. Yeah, it was still cold, but I remember that June we were living in old World War II barracks on the old post at Drum, and they didn't have AC or any central heating or anything
Oh
like that.
shit.
So I remember that was like a particularly hot summer because all over the news they were talking about, there's a record AC units being sold in New York, and so yeah, it was pretty hot, but yeah, it would stay cold up until middle
Nice.
spring,
Yeah. Yeah.
something like that.
Uh, so you get to Fort Drum, you're processing and stuff like that. What unit are you going to?
I am going to, at that point in time, 271 Cav.
271 Cav. Okay.
Yeah.
And how was it when you first get there? Like, obviously, it's
Um,
typical, right? Like, hey, the sergeant or the corporal is like, hey, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Shut the fuck up. Like,
yeah,
basically that
kind
type
of.
stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there was his own separate rites of passage, but
Yeah.
we were kind of an experimental unit. They had just started up. There were some prior combat vets from I believe third ACR, and then one of the aviation units at Fort Drum that were where the Kiowas and stuff
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
So these guys were all filtered in that. So there were maybe 6, 7 people in my platoon, and they were all, like the platoon sergeant was all tabbed out, sapper, ranger, all the things. And I was definitely the young buck. I wasn't the PV2 young buck, but I was PFC young buck, and I wasn't a shitbag by any regard. So, uh, you know, I was accepted, but I was, challenged, and I had to prove myself. And,
Yeah.
of course, the combat patch was a big thing. You wanted that combat patch on your right shoulder.
Yeah.
And, it was definitely flaunted, like everywhere you went, your shoulder was bare, and look at that.
Yeah. And
So
it's definitely romanticized. I was talking
it
about
is.
that with somebody, like the patch, the cab, the CIB,
Yeah.
it's definitely romanticized. Even
Yeah,
the
it is.
CMB, man, and then that could be the worst thing in the world too. Like your buddy could be hurt and you got it,
Dude. Right.
So so okay, so you get there June. What do y'all know you're gonna go to Iraq?
They're murmuring about it. And I guess it was maybe 30. And like I said, we were an experimental unit. We had tabbed out leaders. And we had a command structure that really they wanted to prove themselves too, as being this unit that was just kind of just trying to see what would happen with it. Like I said, it was a Rista squadron. We were just trying to incorporate the Cav and all the different entities, later sniper teams and different things into this unit.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we knew, especially because of our squadron commander and sergeant major, that they if there was an opportunity to prove ourselves, they were going to try to attach us to that mission. And for better or for worse, it ended up, we were an outstanding unit, I guess. In the end of things, we really
Yeah.
stood out. But yeah, we slowly went from 271 Cav and started building up, and then we had switched to 189 Cav.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Um,
once we had, are at full capacity and mission ready,
yeah.
and that's when, the talks of the upcoming deployment for the surge uh,
Yeah.
were coming about. So I
Well,
guess it was, yeah, we're still in 2005, 2000, yeah.
yeah. What month did you deploy in '06?
Went over in August '06.
Okay, so pretty late. What did you so I'm curious, like what do y'all's train up? Like tell me what you guys are doing. Platoon sticks, y'all going to NTC, JRTC, like what are
Yeah,
you guys
we
doing?
some of us went to um, JRTC. We all went to NTC. Definitely in the field a lot, doing a
Yeah.
lot of glass houses and stress fires, and like I said, we all wanted to prove ourselves. We had that in our mentality. Our motto was skill, will, drill gets the kill. And we were all about training. And yeah, so yeah. What was your question again? I'm sorry.
No, like do you, so I mean since you guys are
I
still like
just
a
went
brand new
there.
unit, you guys are training, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
But do you guys go to like any of the validation stuff like NTC or
Yeah,
JRTC?
definitely. We were at NTC, and like I said, and then some of us went to JRTC, and did the whole up four thing. I believe is what they. I wasn't part of that one, um, but the NTC, and of course, like I said, we wanted to stand out. I think they had said at that point in time we were like the first um, squadron that stayed the longest out in the box at that point in time at NTC, like just staying in, you know, dismounted or mounted OPs, for 30 plus days.
Yeah. Nah, the
Just to,
box definitely sucks ass, dude.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you
But
know
it
what's
prepped
good
us.
though? I feel like NTC sucks so bad that deployments are different suck, but they're not as bad as like Army suck.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know if
yeah.
that makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Um, so you guys get so January '06 up until August, you guys are still what was the unit?
189 Cav.
189
We
Cav.
had we
Okay.
had switched from 271 to 189 Cav. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then when do you guys find out you're gonna go to Iraq?
Oh man, I guess it was. I want to say late spring,
Okay, so like May, early May.
early summer, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we went to NTC in maybe October, the previous year. So yeah. So we knew it was a buildup. We knew that
Yeah.
orders were getting cut, and it could go either way because, like I said, we weren't. I'm not sure that we were even on the radar as
Yeah.
a deployable unit right prior to that, but
Yeah.
we stood
Actually,
out. So
I have a question. Did you do
yeah,
like your spur ride and any of that shit?
I uh, I didn't do the spur ride. No.
Oh, okay.
No, there wasn't an opportunity for me during that. There was always something going on, but I didn't do
Yeah.
the spur ride. No,
Okay.
I
I
think
always
the
wondered
first
what that stuff
opportunity I
was.
had to, yeah, the first opportunity I had to do it was like when we got back from deployment, and I was like on the clearance side of things, so I was ready
Yeah.
to, ETS. So I wasn't trying to do all that. I didn't care.
No.
I had my combat spurs, so that was pretty cool.
Okay. No, we'll
But
definitely get into the difference because I'm curious about it. So okay, so when you find out you're going to Iraq, how do you feel?
um, apprehensive, anxious. Put on the facade. I wasn't scared. I was like, okay, well, this makes sense. This is just what happens now. This is the next step. And then you sign the contract. You go to basic training. You train for your job. You go to your unit, and then you go to war.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I guess I was fortunate that my plan was working so far.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, I don't know if everybody in every deployment kind of amps up the environment that they're about to find themselves in, or if it just ends up that way by chance that you're going into a shit place. But we were going in. We realized where in Iraq we were going to, and the reputation that area had because of previous previous units and the things that they had done. So we had a reputation to we knew we had a reputation to fix.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty big weight that we knew we were about to take
Right.
on.
When you went on a pre-deployment leave, how did your mother and your family take it that you were going to go to war?
Um, there's a lot of praying and a lot of pride and stuff, but they were really they were concerned, as I guess most parents would be.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were definitely concerned,
Right.
but
So what area of Iraq did y'all go to?
so we were in South Baghdad, Al Anbar province, and I was because there was with my deployment, it was a 15-month deployment. There was a pre-IED and con leave from the country, and then there was a post, and two different troops within that squadron and two different AOs. So yeah, we were in Al Anbar, and so um, the beginning I was at Camp Stryker. We were operating MSR Tampa, and everything kind of the east and the west going south, um, and then transferred on to into Mamadia and right outside of Latifia and Yusufia and that whole triangle of death area.
Yeah. Do you feel like the training you did kind of prepared you, uh, like militarily wise for what you guys were experiencing? Obviously not the ID stuff, but
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because that's what I was thinking. Yeah, everything but that, which
yeah,
that was a big thing. Come to find out.
yeah. That revolutionized the war for sure.
Dude, it did. Like that was the whole thing. That and like anything to aside from sniper fire and stuff, anything to like incapacitate the gunner. I remember that was a huge fear for us because they were putting wire across the underpasses, right at neck level for a turret gunner, and I was a turret gunner, and so like we were carrying. Some people were carrying silly string at some point in time, just to when you go through under the underpasses, just to spray it to make sure that there's no
Oh wow.
some wire to decapitate you and stuff.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
What was so you're in Iraq, man, and obviously like you signed up to go to war, right?
right.
What is the moment you're like, damn, this is war is hell. I always tell people war is hell. Like it truly is. You see the worst in human
Yeah.
beings, you do some bad shit. So like what is it like? Hey, what's up? This is Doc hopping on here. Please go ahead and comment, subscribe. This episode is sponsored by Craig Fleming at Fleming's Cleaning. If you're in the San Antonio area, please hit him up for your commercial residential cleaning. Use code word GWOT13. And please check out our socials, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. If you have anybody that you'd like to get on the show, please let me know. And with that, let's continue the episode.
Dude, I guess, like I said, when we finally got in the country, because it feels like we spent forever in Kuwait, and then getting to into Iraq, and then getting from the right seat, left seat rides, and into the whole mission. But I went out because I was my PLs. At that point in time, I was a dismount. This, like I said, there was a pre IED and a post IED. So I guess it was I'd gone out with a few of our leaders in our platoon, and for our right seat rides. I guess that's is it the right or left seat rides? Regardless, we went out with the 101st Airborne,
Yeah.
and they were just kind of showing us the AO and what they did, and a typical night mission, a typical day mission, all
Hmm.
the things that they had encountered.
Yes.
And so I remember the first thing we went on was a nighttime mission, and it was we were just going to go right outside of Tampa, and outside this village that was known that there was this guy, this particular pickup truck that was supposedly going back and forth up to Tampa at night, with blackout and setting IEDs in this particular area. So
Yeah.
we were going to dismount, and the trucks were going to go to another overpass and mounted up OP, and we were just going to get eyes on this village and see what we could see. And so I guess that night, I'm out in this palm grove, on the side of you know, this supply route, and this area that's a hotbed, and it's dark. And, I remember like the birds flying out from the bottom of the palm grove and in the dark. And I'm like freaking out, kind of like, what the fuck. Because it's just every little thing startles you, all your senses, you're amped up because you're just assuming the worst of everything based off of
Uh-huh.
what you've been told. And anyways, we see this pickup truck. Apparently we'd missed the pickup truck going in, but with the pickup truck was going or going out, and he was coming back in. And so one of their leaders decided that we were gonna just go ahead into the village, dismounted, and apprehend the guy. Um, so of course there was a delay in getting that message and everything. So and then again, our counterparts were on another observation post, a little bit down the road. So they had to get to us, and so we're in there, kind of just trying to apprehend this guy. And I remember he ran into a mosque. Um, as a safe haven. And at that point in time, you know, the ROEs, or you just don't engage with the mosque. You can't go in the mosque. You have to have an IA or somebody go in there with you, but you better not fire on it or mess it up. So the IA, we had a detachment of them on standby, and they came out and went into the mosque and got the guys out. And then finally, you know, our trucks come up, and uh, so I'm building to this moment that I realized, like, fuck, I'm in it. Because like we get the guy, and they're kind of interrogating them, and in little quick flashback, this unit, I don't know if you remember, in 2006, I believe it was early 2006, 101st Airborne. This unit had um, SA'd a 14-year-old girl and murdered the family and set her on fire. 14-year-old girl.
No, I didn't know
And
that.
so this was yeah, three guys were later found guilty of that, UCMJ and all that stuff. But this was that area that we were in. And so we got this guy, and they're kind of interrogating him in the truck. And I remember I'm sitting in the back right seat of the Humvee. We've got their medic on the other side, and then one of our other dismounts that's kind of sitting in between the two seats underneath the turret. And then we've got this detainee now in between us too. And so the whole ride, this guy, I remember, he's asking for water and water, and he's saying la 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 a lot, you know, I think, which is no, if I remember right. Um, but right when we got back to the clearing barrels, outside of Stryker, I remember the guy, from the dust and the bouncing around and being blindfolded and scared, he just threw up. And I remember he threw up like rice and water, like all over me. And so I'm like, well, shit, you know, and that ended up being like I think we left that night at like 10 p.m. and we were rolling back into the base at like 8 a.m. or something like that. So that was the ending of the night. You know, you're on a dismounted OP, you're running to a village undermanned, underarmed, without your counterparts, and the detainee throws up on you, and then you sit around and you have to do the unpleasant end of the job, which is the paperwork, the the interviews, finding the translator to get it all, done legally.
Yeah,
So yeah, that night was the night when I realized, okay, this is going to be different.
yeah,
But it was real, it was real.
yeah.
And
Um,
then the IEDs, of course.
yeah. And you didn't even did you guys even fire a single shot that night?
No,
Yeah, see, and
no shots
that's
were fired.
I'm glad you
That
you
was a lot
told
of cases.
yeah, I'm glad you
So
told that
many
story though,
cases.
because that is part of war, right? We're not always doing like it's not always like Black Hawk Down, okay?
No,
And the reality of it is man, it's just I really don't know what to say. Obviously, at the time we went in Iraq, it's a different opinion, right? But the what you're talking about, like what they did to the little girl and all the other experiences you're facing, that's really the realities of stuff that goes on over
right.
there. And
And that's a
it's hard as a
reality.
human being too.
Well, yeah, sorry to interrupt you, man, but that's, you're thinking that happened at the tail end of their deployment. So they were at a level of frustration. I'm not excusing this at all. So let me just go ahead and put that out there.
Yeah.
Oh, the whole situation, horrible. But they were at the end of this deployment where there was a lot of success and then give back, success, give back, kind of, which is, you take the hill, you give the hill, you take the hill, you give the hill, kind of thing. Um, and the ROEs were constantly, getting tighter and tighter. And I think at that point in time, they were really emphasizing the whole 5 S's when it came to your 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 rules of aggression and how you were going to advance.
Yeah.
Shout, show, shove, shoot, and then shoot again. So that was really being pushed. But so they had really experienced like a lot of like, what are we even doing here?
Right.
at the end of that deployment. I think maybe they were the first 15-month deployment
Mhm.
and then us. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I
That's what
remember that sentiment being really heavy. Like, what are we even doing here?
yeah, and then, like I said, dude, like, you can't war brings out the worst in people, and,
Right, right,
I agree with you, we're not excusing the behavior, so it's just like, that just changes you, and then that's the stuff that you kinda have to deal with, right? Like, even the Iraqis, what they're feeling, right? They're not now that we look back on it 2020, it's like, "Hey, what were we even doing over there to cause people
right,
to do certain things?" And then like, dude, let's just say hypothetically, some like the cartel came and invaded America, and they did that to
right.
one of somebody we knew. We'd be just as angry if that happened.
Totally. And I'll just touch on something really quick. Another point in my life, in this transition out of the service, I developed an anger about all of this stuff, and
Yeah,
the only outlet I had was Vietnam veterans who were against the war, and so they kind of fostered that anger. And I'm sorry, I just lost my whole train of thought. What was your thing that you had said right before that? Sorry, Jeremy.
no, you're good, bro. You're good.
I was on like it was a very important point, and I was like, man, I gotta
No, you're
put that out there while I
it's
got a
basically
chance.
fostering your anger, right? Like because how the war is, right? Back then we were told weapons of mass destruction, and then now it's like now we look back on it, you're angry about certain things and things that are done, but I brought up the point that if the cartel came and invaded America, right, and they
Oh
did
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
they did that to one of us, we would be just as angry.
Oh yeah. So I had started speaking out at one point in time about my experiences. I guess you would call it light whistleblowing, maybe.
Yeah,
Just getting it out there. I felt like they told me that it was beneficial to my healing to rant and rave about it. So I did that, and I would often, kind of to put it in perspective for the common civilian, say that, just imagine yourself being, like if the cartel was doing that, being sitting in your house one day or on your front porch, and then, sporadically you have these 4 truck convoys, going through your neighborhood with, a slightly aggressive posture at all times of the night. And hey, maybe one night they decide they're going to kick in your door, and because they heard something, because so there's a lot of, I would invoke that kind of image in people's minds, because yeah, you're totally right. Like if it was on the other way around, I don't
yeah,
know how I would react. I felt like there was definitely the thought, and it was talked about, on those late night guard duty shifts, about like, are we like breeding more of this
yeah, it's true,
terror,
man.
or is this like, are we, what are we doing?
Yeah, because
we,
I
we were
even
doing good things, but
yeah, it's kind of a weird, it's kind of weird, right? Like I don't blame our people. I mean,
right.
as much as some people are like, "You guys are pieces of shit, killing babies and whatever."
Yeah, no,
I
no,
don't blame our people for being put in that situation at all, right? We did it
there's
to
always the higher guy that's
yeah,
putting those orders down.
yeah, we did it to serve the country, right, for our freedoms, okay? But just because you find out later that it wasn't the case, I mean, it's not your fault.
Right.
Yeah,
it,
so I
it's
completely agree
unfortunate.
with you.
It's unfortunate, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, man. It's weird. I always had a conversation with people, man. I'm like, if the cartel came and invaded us and we don't even know why, and now we're pissed that they're doing certain things. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be like the Taliban, dude. Like, just
Oh,
going all
most
crazy at these
definitely,
dudes.
most
Yeah.
definitely.
Um.
Yeah.
So okay. So you're going through Iraq, before R&R. Obviously, you get into some ticks, right? Does it get like your emotions, right? We kind of get kind of dead on the inside, right? During some
Yeah,
you kind of have to
yeah.
be numb with a lot of shit. How are you experiencing any of that?
I think at that point in time, so my R&R was actually scheduled for like a week after I got hit by a roadside bomb and was sent out of the country. So,
Oh,
but I
okay.
remember at that point in time, like October 6th, actually, and it was during Ramadan, that it was, there was a sense of complacency. There was always a reminder of like complacency kills, complacency kills. So we were
Yeah.
kind of like, I don't know if you would call it numb or whatever. The IEDs had already gone off before, some of us had near misses, some of us hadn't, some of us had trial by fire, some of us didn't, but yeah, there was definitely like boredom had already entered into the picture, and it was,
Yeah.
it was either going to be balls to the wall, or nothing,
Yeah.
and then
So
yeah,
you got hit with a road. You got hit with an IED. You were in a vehicle.
yeah, we got. I was, like I said, I was the gunner, for my platoon leader, and we so we had done the little impromptu raid on this little block of houses, and we had found that they had more than what they needed of the AKs and ammunition. So we confiscated that. And like I said in the beginning, that dreaded part of the whole mission was like the police stuff, the paperwork that you have to do at the end of the day based off of whatever you confiscate or fire or whatever. So it was the end of a mission, and we we had these extra AKs, and we were like, we really don't want to prolong this day once we get back to the base to to do paperwork and fill out all this stuff and log into the system, and who's going to do that, So I remember we had taken this route, and it was Route Elephant, and we were going to just dump them in the canal to the adjacent to us,
Yeah.
and just call it a day. And I remember, like I said, I was a turret gunner, and so I was oriented to 3 o'clock, and I remember I had this canal that they were going to dump it on, full eyes on this, and then there was a salt factory, um, a little, maybe a football field's length away. And then there was this field, and there was this guy, an older guy on the tractor, and he was just riding back and forth. And as a gunner at that point in time, too, they had encouraged us to carry a camera around, take pictures of unusual things, just always be aware of, those differences and suspicious things, obvious things. And I was just like, this guy is like kind of just driving back and forth while we're, first off, we're discussing this way too long, on the ground, sitting here while we dump these AKs. But the guy made several passes back and forth on his tractor, and I remember as it was kind of coming to, like, what is he doing? Like, why is he? I see him picking up a cell phone, and then that's basically all I remember from that point in time. It was like it was 3 155 rounds that were command detonated to go off, and it hit the we weren't even right on top of it, but it was meant for a Bradley or a Striker or something else, and it was meant for a dead center hit. Um, but it blew the front half of a truck off, and I've heard two accounts. One account is that turret was thrown from the turret. One of it is that I was uh, in the seat of or in the floorboard of the truck. But regardless, I was medevaced out of that situation. I had it broke the 240 in half. I mean, it just broke the whole front of the truck just completely apart,
Yeah.
just mangled it. And we were all very fortunate. There were some concussions in the front of the driver, and the BL was fine. And again, that was our first big IED for
Yeah.
us, for our particular crew. And like I said, I was medevaced out. I was in and out of consciousness all the way back to Liberty or wherever it was. I don't know. And I guess for the first 24 hours, I was kind of, until they got down to the nitty gritty and saw what the problem was, bleeding, bleeding out because I had a grade 3 laceration in the spleen,
Oh
and
shit.
some fractured ribs, I think punctured lung, had a traumatic brain injury. I guess I was in and out of consciousness for like over 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, and it was like a transition from there, from Liberty to Balad. from Balad to Germany to do
Mhm.
some surgeries in Germany to um, back to drum, and
Yeah.
then process slowly back to Iraq again. So
Oh, wow. So they were like, "Hey, man, once you're fully recovered, you gotta go back."
no, not actually. Well, yeah and no. Like clearly, I was a different kind of injury. Like it was, and they had me on all kinds of medications too at that point in time. But I'm on rear detachment. I'd spent 30 days um, almost 30 days at home, just kind of going through it in my head, knowing that my guys are over there and I'm over here now,
Yeah,
and
it's rough.
I'm hurting, but I'm not hurting too bad, you know.
Yeah.
And but they say I'm not ready yet, and I've still got these appointments, and so there was this guilt that was kind of eating at me. And so when I was on rear detachment, I remember like I was just doing CQ a lot, and just really doing whatever I wanted to do on base, and um, just standard duty, light duty. And I was just, I would hear the calls that would come in from, our guys overseas to the CQ desk and to our command staff there, and so it was always something that was kind of, it was encouraged, but it wasn't expected. Um, and I remember one night I was doing CQ, and myself and another guy that had been injured happened to be there, and one of our other platoons or troops actually within had suffered another IED hit, and it killed, was it one, two, three, and really maimed another. And so in this, and we were already, like I said, we were experimental unit. We were just good enough, but we were strapped tight with resources and dealing with a lot of hand-me-downs and things. So when you lose that many people, that really throws a dent in your fighting force, and the ones that you do have, you got to deal with the repercussions and the fallout of them losing their buddies, and restructure the whole way that the platoon operates. And so I remember, like I said, I'm sitting on CQ. It's daytime over there, nighttime over here. This is just wild. Now they're down so many guys, and here I am, like, of course, any of the guys that coming out of basic training at that point and to get sent to our unit, they're kind of filtering them over to Iraq to join the unit and stuff. But like that's what they were depending on for the fighting force to replenish. And I felt like a sense of duty, obviously, and the whole warrior ethos, and I was just like, that's what they're dependent upon. Somebody's going to lead these guys. They're just going to go over there by themselves, unattended, just straight out of basic. And I said, I'm here, and I know those guys, and I was close with a couple of them, and there's no reason that I shouldn't, give it a whirl. And I really wanted to go back to my old troop, but like I said, I went to this troop that had just lost their guys. So yeah, there was a sense of guilt, and I just knew that I had to get back. So
Yeah.
I guess it was March uh, of '07. I started to start the process of getting deployable again, and kind of getting a new, fresh group of. I think we had I think there's two others. They were straight out of basic, and getting them overseas and into their unit and into
Yeah.
their troop, and me with my new guys, and which I said we were in a totally different AO at that point in time, in the heart of the triangle of death. I was a
Mhm.
dismount with a group of guys that were, in respects to most of the other squadron, were battle hardened. They had seen the most, they had done the most, they were constantly in the suck, and constantly taking a hit, and they were undermanned. So
Yeah.
that's where I went, but there was a sense of like, the one thing that kind of made me feel a little bit proud was apparently I was one of the 3,000 that went over, one of the only injured one that went back
Oh wow.
overseas. So I got the
Yeah.
Order of Saint Maurice for that. Um, but yeah, and these guys too, they respected the hell out of the fact that I should have, but by some accounts, stayed home. I'd already proved myself at that point in time. I'd already given enough. A lot of people had said, even my command. But you know, it was an admirable thing from others said to go back, and I felt gratitude, and I felt acceptance from the new guys, and a secondhand revenge and anger for their loss as well, and so it was at that point in time right back into the fight and into the fight, like really.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's definitely an admirable thing you did. I I don't know how I would react in that scenario. Obviously, I don't want an armchair quarterback or anything like that. So it's a tough decision that you made too. Like, hey, you almost lost your life, and now you're going back in for round two, man. And
Yeah,
you really only think about your boys, though. Like the guys
that's
that are
all.
over there. I tell that to a lot of people. Like, yeah, we did it. Like I said, whatever your opinion is, but we don't think about the command team. We don't think about the
No,
Congress or the president or whatever. You think about the
no.
people that literally the people left and right.
Yeah, that's totally that's it. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. That's what I miss the most, I guess. But
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the way it went. And you know,
How was the second half?
the second half was there wasn't so much room for complacency. We were in a different sector. We had moved from out of striker because everybody was at striker at that point in time. To some people were in the Lions Den with the
Yeah.
Iraqi army, and then they had moved our troop to Bravo troop to Cap Corregidor outside of Mamadea.
Uh-huh.
And so we were taking over for, I believe, some other 101st guys that were holed off over there, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway,
Damn.
so
So how
we
many okay, before we get too far. So how many months were you there and then you went to R&R? How many months was that?
so I was there from August, so 3 months, and then, like I said, the
2 months
blast,
injured.
and and then I went back over in April, May, like right at the end of April,
Fuck.
middle of April, and then I stayed over there until the end of November of
Damn,
'07.
dude, that is wild. That just shows you how long you're over
Yeah,
that was.
yeah,
Like you
like,
had enough time to recover from a severe injury and then go back.
hmm yeah, it is wild. It is wild, and like I said, that was man, the whole that was a wild time to come back in the country too. Really wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sorry, before I interrupted you, how was like getting
No,
into the second half of it?
it was like this platoon. They obviously didn't want to put too much on me. They were. I remember they were kind of skeptical. Like, does he want to be up in the turret again? Like that's got to be kind of scary. Maybe he doesn't want to be in the turret. Um, and I just remember. Sorry, I got to plug up the charger. That being them just wanting me to fit in wherever I felt best, and me, I kind of felt a little bit of a sense of I don't know, not that I couldn't die, but like I had God's favor or something, and I was good to
Right.
go. So why don't you just go test it a little bit? And like I
Yeah.
said, I had secondhand revenge for these guys and myself as well. So yeah, I didn't really have time to really think about me and my condition too much. As a matter of fact, I wasn't. There was no like follow up or anything with like my injuries at that point in time. It was like we're all hurting at this point. We're
Yeah.
all tired. We're all sucking. So getting back into with those guys, it was cool. I mean, we were doing a lot of. We couldn't use the trucks out of Crop Corridor a lot, just because of the IED situation we were had over there, And so we were doing a lot of Black Hawk insertions and nighttime dismounted patrols, and so it was intense, and like I said, we were like right in the isolated from everyone else, right in the middle of just like this wide open like area that just you can be attacked from all sides, and
Yeah.
we had this small little contingent that was already angry and undermanned, that was controlling this and to the best of their ability. And so, but at that point in time, the big news of 2007 was the ambush of some guys from 431 Infantry out of 10th Mountain, where 7 of them were ultimately killed, and 3 of them were kidnapped. Um,
Uh-huh.
and so, yeah, that whole from May, the beginning of May on, which was very short after I had got back in country, it was like the mission shifted to trying to recover these guys that were MIA in Iraq somewhere,
Yeah.
which was right in our AO, right there in the triangle.
Okay. Um, did you guys find those guys? I'm not too
We didn't
familiar about
find it.
this.
No,
Okay.
nobody on our deployment found them. We found traces of them. We found articles belonging to them. We didn't find them. They found the remains of 2 of them in 2008.
Yeah.
Um, the other they didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. Um, okay, so how are you like emotionally dealing with right the injury, the loss of people, coming up to the end of the deployment? Like, are you kind of just on survival mode? Because that's how I felt. I felt like I was just kind of like on one direction, one path, and then it wasn't until after that it got hard.
yeah, that was totally it. I mean, I didn't. There wasn't much time to wander to anything unpleasant like that, or anything that was about the future or how you might. Yeah, it was all simple-minded thinking. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like we didn't want to think. I remember our one little escape was like somebody had some One Tree Hill DVDs, and like our one little escape was like we didn't want to think about anything except like let's go find out what's going on One Tree Hill, that show. When we get done with this god awful dismounted patrol, where we know that none of us we're going to be on a rotating guard duty tonight, and nobody's going to get more than an hour and a half, 2 hours of sleep max, and we're going to have to do it. We just wanted to think about simple stuff, and so you know whether subconsciously we were just blocking it out or I don't know, but
Yeah.
it didn't occur to me or start to bother me until you slow down and on the other side and you're like, okay, that was drastic.
Yeah. When you came back, obviously you didn't re-enlist or anything, but were you eligible or you couldn't because of your injuries or no?
I was E4, and so I really my goal was to at least get out of E5. And so I had re-enlisted for squadron numbers just to as a like a 6 month extension type deal.
Oh, okay, an extension.
So I could have, but I didn't. Then they made the requirement for everybody, all the E5, to go to WLC, the
Yeah.
Warrior Leader course, and then I was
Yeah, I know.
like, I'm not going to do that. Like, come on now. So, anyways, I was already scared about getting stop lost, so I didn't want to do anything else. I was just like, all right, let's just call it a day. Um, so
How was that decision for you?
it was it was kind of easy, I guess, because everybody at that point in time after that deployment was kind of like, man, I just can't wait to get out. That was a lot,
Yeah.
and for the most part, those guys, at least in that platoon, were making that decision to do that, or at least go home and do National Guard or something.
Mm,
And I was, I don't know, I didn't think about the I just really didn't put much thought about it. I wish I had have, in retrospect. I'm like, man, do you know what you were giving up that day that you like, said, gave a middle finger to the fork drum,
yeah.
gate in your rearview mirror, and you're leaving your best buddies that you're going to always compare everybody else to for the rest of your life.
Yeah, some dudes you survived with. I mean,
For real.
did you obviously there's a moment in there of regret, right? Survivor's guilt, regret. The war's still going on, you left. Um, when you first leave, right, it's kind of you're like, "Damn, this was a good decision, right? I feel good. Like,
Right.
I'm freaking I did what I needed to do for my country, right?" But
Hmm.
when does it hit that you're like, "Damn, I kinda fucked up." Like, people are over there still dying and fighting, and I'm over here like
I guess when I got out in the recession in 2008 and stuff. So that was kind of a tough spot to for a veteran to find themselves in. And I had a chip on my shoulder too because I was like, Purple Heart. I just went twice, now for you guys, and now I
yeah,
can't get a job and stuff. And so that isolation and that immediately a victim of the circumstances. I was also becoming aware at that point in time that our vice president was a CEO of Halliburton, which happened to be heavily involved in these wars, and I was connecting these dots and exploring the war a little bit deeper and kind of just being like, talk about regret, almost like, and I'm just going to be honest with you for a moment. I was like, this was 2005 when I went into this information that I'm reading is predates this decision that I made. And if, like, why were we doing this? Why are we still committing people to this? It wasn't, fortunately, my buddies weren't over there directly in another conflict for a little bit. Then they went on to Afghanistan, and at that point in time, I just found myself in a different stage in my transition out of the military, where I was into myself and numbing that pain by various means.
yeah,
Um, so as to not think about my buddies that were over there doing the thing and still dying in Afghanistan.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, but it wasn't long at all when I got out of the military. Maybe three months when I was like, these people don't get me. I don't get
yeah,
me. Like this is I need the structure again. I miss the structure. Like if I keep on this path, I could potentially be back to square one whenever because now I'm just angry with a tendency towards violence, that knows how to, it was just, I felt like I was unprepared definitely for what I was facing now, like the ultimate freedom. Like that was too much freedom for me. I didn't want to,
yeah,
yeah, like make my decision for me, give me a plan or give me a mission, and I'll make the plan and we'll execute it and go.
yeah. How did you, so obviously drinking, like there's probably it's hard. What what was the turning point in your life?
um, the turning point, man. Well, when you're going, when you're digging your hole to the bottom, you can always, always, always go deeper. And what some people on the outside might perceive as somebody's bottom, just stick around because they'll blow your mind by finding a whole new bottom and stuff. And so that, like, after just kind of, I just felt like I was in this just fostering this negativity about the whole situation, and that was my identifier. Like, if there was an identifier that you could wear on a t-shirt or something like that, like a little slogan, I feel like mine would say PTSD. Like that was like, I was ashamed that I had such high regard for myself during that time and excelled, and now I was just not excelling like I was at that point. I didn't have my brothers. I didn't have that support. I didn't have the people around me to encourage me. Like
Yeah,
there was, I was lacking in all those regards. So just being in isolation for long enough and narrowly avoiding some of the pitfalls that unfortunately some veterans will succumb to. Um, I got low enough, and I mean, God helped me through some of this part. I mean, most of it. In retrospect, He helped me through all of it. But like that was definitely getting to that lowest point, and just I don't know, just wanting to be useful again. So I just decided I needed to start somewhere, and that's when I called out and just kind of cried out and called out on a few people and tried to slowly get into the VA system and ask for help and get medicated for one, at least initially. Um, but but yeah, I really don't know what it was that I was just tired of hurting, and so
Yeah.
I decided that like I said, I wanted to be useful again, and most important, I needed to fix myself. I needed to fix my dependency on these substances and get back to being able to stand up and look at myself in the mirror and not be
Yeah.
PTSD, Zach. This is what you are, and this is what you will be.
Yeah.
Um, and I started to see those people that once were around me when I was kind of in the activism after the service a little bit, kind of just fostering that negativity and not willing to accept change or greatness or any other identifier other than that. I mean, I'm blessed to be able to say I've done some pretty cool things since the military that I didn't aspire to. But I can say, man, I'm just as proud of that defining moment as I am of the service, if not more.
Yeah.
Um, so
No,
I'm
man,
grateful
there's
for it.
yeah, it's tough, man, what you're talking about, dude. I think you should be proud of yourself for sure.
Oh yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah.
We
Uh,
all should. We all should. We all, like I said, less than 1% of the population will even commit to signing that dotted line in an all voluntary force. That says
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Whatever your circumstances are to lead you to that decision. That's
Yeah. Less than you said less than 1%, but it's even less than 1% actually see the combat like you did too,
yeah.
you and I did and it's definitely tough, man. They don't it's not there's no book on how to come back.
No, there's some good references I've found along the way, but there's no handbook, and they don't prepare you for it.
Yeah.
And if they did in the military, if they did make a course for it, I probably would just at that point in time just coast through it, just because
Yeah. You
like I
kinda
said, at that point in time, I just wanted to get out. Like,
yeah. Same thing, man. I know exactly how you feel. It's just, it doesn't what the hardest part is like when you come back and you're like nothing will ever amount to it, right? Like
yeah,
that it's just hard, man. Like
dude, yeah,
you're doing the real job, only your boys get you. And
yeah. I was like,
then you hit that point where you're like, fuck, only these people get me, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember just telling people, I was 23 and I was like, I'm 23 and I've maxed out my life. Like, and that's just unacceptable. And it took
Right.
me, I think, you asked when at point in time. So that was 23 where I was like, I had that mentality. I was 32 when I decided to get outside of myself and travel a little bit outside of the country and start to work on myself. So you ask how long that was. That was 23 to 32. So 9 years of me just kind of in self and then trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
it takes some time. I wish it didn't take that long, but it did.
Man, yeah, but look at you now, man. New kid,
Yeah, man.
wife,
Yeah.
dude, you're happy.
5 years old at 42. What the hell, man?
No, but you I always tell people, like a lot of our people, right? They struggle with their kids, right? And their spouses or their ex-spouses or their kids don't even talk to them. I'm like, if you would have kept going down the path that you're on, your family wouldn't get the best of you and they deserve it
Right. Oh, totally. Totally. Appreciate that.
for sure. Well,
Yeah, we've definitely still got a
before we
purpose.
yeah, before we end this podcast, I got three questions for you. Um, are people that are still suffering, what would you tell them?
You're not alone. That sounds cliche, but you're not. Um, You can find me on the socials, look me up, send me a message. I'll answer the best I can, but reach out to someone. That phone's heavy, I know, but it's necessary to save your life.
Yeah.
So yeah,
All right. Give me some dad advice.
dad advice,
I know you
man.
got a toddler, man, but you got something going.
I don't know. I'm trying right now. I'm trying to teach my son calmness and restraint in chaotic environments, which
Mhm.
is something that it took me a while to get to.
Yeah.
Trying to not react, but to respond measured. So that and just always be a source of stability. You know, just that rock, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and that rock doesn't have to be anything that any image that anybody else has kind of portrayed. The rock should be, just be that stability in their life.
All right. Last question. Some spousal advice, man.
Oh, so my wife is a Vietnamese heritage. Communication is huge for us. Communication, we have problems with this daily. So communicate is don't I don't know. Don't sugarcoat things. The thing with English as a second language is they don't. A lot of people don't know the other ways to sugarcoat things. They just want to say it directly. So be direct, be kind, but make sure that you're getting the message across effectively.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know.
That's good, dude. No, that's good.
No,
Um,
comms. The comms are important.
yeah, it always is, dude. It's always one of the number
Yeah,
one things. We
it's
can always
always
get
the
better on.
problem, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can always get better on it, dude. Well, Zach, I appreciate this show. I know that it took us months to get it done, but we got it done, and
Well, the
I
most
appreciate.
important thing is you stayed busy during that time, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it was tough, man. It's still tough to this day. But do you have any questions for me, brother?
Man, no, I appreciate it, but if you I would like to say one more thing. Like, if you do get a chance, if you're a veteran and you want to try to further explore getting out of yourself and into service, check out Task Force Mountain on Facebook. We'd
Yeah,
love to have you.
I'll definitely ping down in the description Task Force Mountain. I think you're on TikTok too, right?
Yeah, on that too.
Okay.
But yeah, man, I'm just glad you're doing this and committed to it. I mean, you've got, I don't know, I was scrolling earlier to see what kind of format that you were gonna had most people to do, and I was like, man, I keep scrolling. You've got so many episodes, and
Yeah.
you keep expanding and getting bigger, and your graphics are getting better, and
Yeah.
I'm excited for you, man.
I appreciate it, man. It was it's definitely tough, man, but I think we got to do it for our people, man. So,
We got to.
yeah, I don't like all these woes me parties,
No, and it seems like there's a lot of gatekeepers even in the veteran community too.
Oh,
There's
big
the
time.
SF guys, and then there's the, oh, I'm just a pogue, and then there's the, there's all of us. But
Yeah.
we need this
Yeah.
moment to shine and highlight the service. And thanks for
Yeah.
doing that for people, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got a little surprise. I'm gonna do the title of the lives that I'm gonna do. It's gonna be called. I'm still working on the title, but it's gonna be like better for the next generation, and it's basically like because I don't want us to be like the Vietnam guys.
Yeah,
When the next war comes, I want everybody that's in the military going to learn from us, and we are there for them, right? Like
right,
good, better, and indifferent. The wars, but like they're still people, and they're still our brothers and sisters, and
right.
we got to do better for them.
We got to bring them up. Yeah, that's the thing. We've failed at such a basic level, from the institution and the VA on up. So
Yeah,
we've got to be prepared to take care of the warfighters if they're going to do that.
for sure. Well, Zach Choate,
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen,
Jeremy, thank you, man.
thank you for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed it, please comment, share, and subscribe. Comment will go a long way. Please follow us on our major socials: TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. New episodes drop every Wednesday at midnight Central Time. If you have anybody you'd like to get on the show, please send them my way. Or if you'd like to get on the show, please send me an email. And with that, we'll catch you on the next episode.